Welcome back to the reality report. It seems like we haven't been on in such a long time, and we haven't seen you guys in the chat in such a long time. I'm being sarcastic and only kidding. Without further ado, it's always a pleasure to be here. Let me introduce and bring in my sidekick and partner, Mr. Tony Silo. Tony, what is the good word, and what have you heard?
Nothing much, man. Had nice conversations today, getting into making this show better. And of course, we have Jimmy with us again and ready to roll, man. It should be a great show tonight.
Awesome. So let's get right to it. What do you say? We bring him right in.
Absolutely.
Before I do that, I just want to say hello to the chat. Everybody out there, love you guys. Keep coming back. Thank you so much, everybody. And we'll shout you out later individually, as always. Coming to the stage, weighing in at a... Here he is, my man, Jimmy D. What's happening, Jimbo?
How are you guys? How are you, Craig? How are you, Tony? How's everybody?
Always a pleasure, brother. You know it.
All good.
Pleasure is mine. Pleasure's mine.
Thank you. Tony, what do we got in mind tonight, pal?
All right. So we're going to change it up, but it's still going to be the same kind of thing. All right?
Love it.
We were talking, and when you talk to each other, you always ring a bell. Oh, wow, you're interested in that. I'm interested in that. So
Absolutely.
we have a boxer who was born in Italy in 1958. His name was Francisco Damiani.
I remember Francisco, yeah.
In 1982, he was in the World Championships. He won a silver medal.
Yeah.
And in 1984, he fought Terrell Biggs in the Olympics and won a silver medal, coming in second there. He came over and fought in, guess where? New Jersey.
Wow.
And he also had a family that had, let's say, friends back in Italy. He had the two brothers that were over on the other side. And he got involved with, it was Al Certo. You had our friend Jackie Curtis over here. You had a lot of guys. And Little Sammy, a gentleman from New Jersey, who Jimmy will tell you all about, and Jimmy were connected. Jimmy was connected with Jackie Curtis through Little Sammy, and the marriage began, and they started with boxing up in North Jersey. So now a lot of people remember. You're going to hear the name Al Certo. He trained Buddy McGirt.
Big time trainer, yep.
His very last fight was with another guy that's a very familiar name, and he fought Mike Tyson. In his last fight is Andrew Galata, but he fought two memorable bouts with Riddick Bowe that started a riot in Madison Square Garden. He was just as much a street guy as he was a boxer, Andrew Galata from Poland. The guy was a tougher son of a bitch, man, I tell you. So, Jimmy, we're going to get to the point, but he was supposed to fight for...
Tony, hold on a second, Tony. I just need your volume. To me, I can hear you. You're very soft. I'm just trying to hear you a little better. Is there any way I can raise this volume at all? I don't mean to be unprofessional about it, but...
No, it's fine. Try and raise your volume on your device, and Craig, you raise it up a little from there, because I'm on high.
Absolutely.
Because my volume is all the way up, and you're coming in very, very soft, Tony. It's kind of hard for me to hear you.
No problem. He's going to do it, or I'll go out and come back in. It's easy.
All right.
Okay.
I'm at full... I'm all the way up to the highest I can be.
Can you hear me now, or do you need me to go out and in?
I hear you fine.
No, it's very soft for me. I'm wondering if do I have to hit a setting button again? Because I don't exactly know where it is. Or do I hit the thing that says more?
Yeah, go to more and see what happens. More should bring you up into the settings.
Let me see, guys.
I'm going to go out and come back in.
All right, brother, you do that. I hear everybody loud and clear. Jimmy, do you hear me fine?
Yes, I hear you much louder. I'm just going to settings.
You got it. Everybody's saying in the chat they hear you fine. Just to let you know, your sound is fine. While we have a chance, let me just, might as well personally, Black Hand, welcome. Thank you for coming in. Tommy Stiggs, what's up? Michael, Gianni, Kelly, Detroit Stiggy, Cinnamon Girl, Barbara, always a pleasure. Terry, Wyatt Earp, Beck Brooklyn, what's happening? Dave T, you know it. You know it, brother. I just don't want to miss anybody. If I do, Baywatcher, what's good? All is good here. What do you hear? What do you say? What do you know? Steve, that's good stuff, bud. Thanks for the football comments. We'll save that for another day. And remember what I said, Steve. Let's be careful of that little yellow towel. We're going to bring Tony back in, and then hopefully Jimmy comes back in. I hear you fine, Tone.
All right, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay,
Everybody.
he should hear me. I pressed extension volume.
All right, we got RJ, I believe, from Black Handprint here. I welcomed RJ in. I welcomed everybody in, Tone, while we were down for a little bit.
Okay, I'm here. You welcomed everybody in. Let's get Jimmy and let's get underway.
Yep. Just waiting for Jimmy to hit that link again. Let me, Barbara's here. That's what's funny. Jimmy's wife is here, and her husband's missing in action. Oh, here he comes, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming. We got him back. Give him a couple of seconds. Okay, that's Stacks Black Handprint. Okay. Stacks, well. Okay. Billy, what's up, bro?
Everything is nice now. Thank you, guys.
Chris
You got
Breeder.
it, no problem. Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes things happen beyond our control.
Exactly.
Here we go. So, as you were saying, my man Tony Silo, what's up? What do we got on the agenda tonight?
So we were talking today, me and Jimmy, and we go back and we know a few people that were in the same game of boxing. And we're talking about Francisco Damiani. Born in 1958, came over here. He was a stud boxer, but he also had family that were, friends in that world in Italy still. So, of course, they were able to make some phone calls and get him over here. He went on to be the first WBO heavyweight champion in America. In 1982, he was at the World Championships. He won the super heavyweight. In 1984, he was the silver medalist in the gold in the Olympics, losing to Tyrell Biggs. So he represented Italy, but he came over and stayed with the boys in Jersey, and they mentored him and taught him. And he worked with a lot of guys over there. And here's how it worked in Northern Jersey. It was little.
Well, when he was in Jersey, he was with my friend Piero Santini. He was from Nutley, but he had a lot of moves. He had Antifermo, Vito Antifermo. They had that champ. They had another kid, and he kept on building with that. And I remember one time because he had to make me go see. I had to go see Don King for him for Andrew Galata because it was money that was owed for a fight that was put together, or a fight that was supposed to be put together but it never was, or I don't know the exact sort, but I know there was money owed, and naturally I got the call to go there, and that's when I went to go see. And he wasn't all friendly like he is only in America, my friend. He was real calm, real cool, and the money was paid. So that's what I remember about Andrew Galata at the time. But with Damiani, I met him at the Italian coffee shop on Bloomfield Avenue in Newark. It was called Cafe Intermezzo. And I met him there with Piero, and we were in the back and talked. He was a real nice guy. Like, he talked with a semi of a little bit of an accent, a little bit of broken English, but big guy, big guy. But I remember his hands were like the size of baseball mitts. Good kid, real sweetheart of a guy. But mainly, when I know, as you were mentioning before about Certo's a tailor, but his whole world was boxing. And that's where I used to be. And what did you want to ask me about when I had my dealings with Certo, I think, Tony?
Okay, so it started in boxing for you with Little Sammy introducing you to Jackie Curtis, correct?
Right. Exactly, yes.
All right. So you ran
into to him.
hold on a second. So then
My
you ran into
what,
Piero Santini. I think we're breaking up here somewhere.
All right, we got you
no,
now.
no,
You're good now. Go ahead.
Okay,
no, no,
sounds
no.
good.
It wasn't Piero. I was with Little
Oh, it's
Sammy,
Jackie.
and
Right, and then you went with.
We had to go see. We had to go see Jackie Curtis, and Jackie Curtis was the guy that would put fights together. And I didn't know his exact cause because he was Sammy's guy. He was given to him through our crew, through the Gambino crew. They gave him, that was little, I can say it now because Sammy died, but they gave him that. Jackie Curtis was put under Sammy's wing, so Sammy would take care of him and this and that. And we sat there for hours talking about when Bob Foster. See, when I was a kid, I was friendly with Frankie DiPaula. Frankie DiPaula was a light heavyweight. He fought Dick Tiger for the championship, and he also fought Bob Foster. I remember, I think he lost in the first round and all that, but still. But Frankie DiPaula was an up and coming good boxer at one time, and he had all his connection. But he met him, which was Tommy Eberly in New York, which was on the Genovese side. He was. But Frankie got killed because he used to fool around with a lot of guys' wives, and he never should have done that. And I met him when I lived in Frankie Valli's house. When I lived in Frankie Valli's house upstairs in Nutley, New Jersey. He'd come over the house. He used to eat over the house with my father. My father would bring him over. And I remember I had a little autograph book, and he wrote in there, Frankie DiPaula, from your friend, Frankie DiPaula. You know, at the time I was 12. I didn't realize the impact of that world. But as I got older, I realized just how deep my father was involved, you know?
Okay, so let's go here. So you started getting involved with the boxing, and now you're with Jackie Curtis, and Little Sammy put that marriage together, right?
Right, exactly. Because when Little Sammy couldn't see well, I had to see Jackie. I would have to see Jackie, and I would have to bring him to certain appointments. But a lot of times, we would have the appointment at Al Certo's place. See, Al Certo was a tailor. He was a master tailor. He made custom clothes for like a lot of wise guys too. Pants. He would make a belt out of the same material to go with the pants. I remember certain little quirks about him. But Al Certo was another one. He was involved in so much boxing. I think was he manager also too, Tommy? Right? I mean, Tony.
Al was managing Buddy McGirt. He was managing Galata at the end. He managed a lot of the local guys who came out. He brought Bobby Ches into the mix in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh yeah, that's what I meant, Bobby Ches too. When Jackie Curtis had to talk to him, we went to lunch one day, and I didn't know who Bobby Ches was because at the time he looked either he looked Hispanic or he didn't, because he didn't really look Italian. Plus he had that pug nose. You know, so I wasn't sure who he was, but then Jackie filled it in when we did leave the meeting.
Okay, so now I got to spend a lot of time, and we discussed it today with Al Certo at the Ring 8 boxing dinners in the Long Island City Waterfront Crab House. I seen Al, and he was an idol for his boxing stuff, but I always seen Al with a good guy next to him on his left and right. I met him. He was with one gentleman still alive, I can't say it, and his brother. And Lefty Knapp was very friendly with Al Certo when he was younger. And then he crossed over into Jersey where he resided and had his tailor shop and boxing gym. And Al Certo was very friendly with you gentlemen and your friends. Can you tell us a little bit about Al Certo's relationship?
Well, Al Certo's relationship was also when I first met him, the first time was through Johnny Moose Malone. He died also. But he was his right-hand man of Johnny DiGilio, who was the boss of the Genovese faction family of the Jersey side. And Johnny Moose was his right-hand man. And I was with Johnny Moose for 3 years. I was his main guy. 3 weekends in a row, I got shot at, literally got shot at in after-hour clubs in New York on Richmond Terrace. It was called the Richmond Ballroom. It was above a roller rink, I remember, on Richmond Terrace. But I also had on Lily Pond Avenue, we had two other clubs there, and I would first have to get the place warm. Johnny used to actually steal electricity just to have the lights around the bar, like to have all the little round lights. He drilled a hole into this Oriental guys. There was like a cleaners next door on Lily Pond Avenue. He drilled through the hole on the top and spliced through his extension cord and stole the electricity just to get the lights to go there. Even that go. And he wouldn't have heat in the place. Here it was cold. He had me get 2 space heaters from kerosene. He was Jimmy, what you're going to do is bring them heaters in there 2.5 hours ahead of time. This way it'll be as warm as toast when those people come in there.
All right, let's give everybody an idea of what Johnny Moose looked like.
Yeah.
Johnny Moose was
forget about it. Johnny Moose, forget about it. His eyes are beady eyes, cheeks like 2 pieces of tripe, tattoos on his knuckles. He looked like if he was on trial and sitting on the witness end, you're a jury, you'd say, "That guy's guilty.
Get him out of here."
He is just what a Damon Runyon character looks like in a cartoon of what a gangster is, like the little one in Bugs Bunny with the little guy with the hat and the cigarette, and he's flipping the coin. What do you know, Rabbit? Because I know 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4. Now shut up, you know too much.
So now I reached out to a few guys in Staten Island today after we spoke, and you guys operated the after hours on the 2nd floor above the rolling rink on Richmond Avenue, right?
Right. Well, Richmond. I think it was Richmond Terrace. Well, Richmond Avenue.
It was Richmond Avenue. I found somebody who knew it. It was Richmond Avenue.
Yeah.
Richmond Terrace was the exit getting off.
Yeah. You got Richmond Road too. Richmond Terrace, Richmond Avenue, Richmond Road.
Richmond Avenue was the main exit you got off of.
Absolutely.
When we were partners, though, we were partners with Anthony Graziano at the time with the Bananas, because this guy Steve was Anthony's right-hand man, and we ran to play. One night when Johnny was going crazy in there, he's beating up people, and so naturally a guy gave Johnny a look. So I cracked the guy, and Johnny goes nuts. He's grabbing full bottles of beer, throwing them at people, and the guy Steve, who had a cane, right? He's at the top of the steps. There was a girl, her name was Scotty, who used to go out with Johnny Moose's son. He was a fighter also. Long story, he wound up killing himself because their relationship was very, very torrid, father and son, with Johnny Moose and his son. Anyway, as the girl Scotty was there, she was saying to John, "What are you doing? Stop!" So he's trying to grab the cane from Steve. He's trying to grab the cane from Steve, and he says, "Give me that cane." He goes, "That's my cane. I need it." He goes, "Well, what do you want the cane for, John?" He goes, "I want to hit that broad with it." This is what the nut I was with. These are my friends, you know.
Johnny Moose was a character, I tell you. I mean, I met him when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s, and he was just very rough guy all the way around. I mean, that was.
Oh yeah, I was with him for three years. I was with him 3 years, and I'll never forget with the lessons, the education I learned in 3 years. Forget it. We'd be in Atlantic City because I was a card counter. So I brought like 2 girls down that I had directed in the Dirty Adult films, because they were knockouts. You would never think that they were that crazy, but we flew them into Bader Field. At that time, there was no Atlantic City International Airport. This is like 1983. Flew them into Bader Field, Atlantic City. It was from LaGuardia they flew out of, and she was with Johnny. And he's like falling in love with this girl. And I told him what I did. I directed this girl, and so the next one we had 2 adjoining suites at Caesars. Bernie Resnick was the main guy in Caesars at the time. He was the guy that was like the chief. What do you call it? Like casino host, you know, but he would run all them. So he would give Johnny all the suites. So Johnny gets 2 adjoining suites, one for me, one for him and the girl Carissa. So all of a sudden, the morning comes, right? We order breakfast. They wheel in breakfast. So he's eating and I'm eating. He's so first I'm ready to sit down and eat with him. So she had like a night negligee on, and he had his boxer shorts on. He's ready to eat. He goes, Jimmy, do you mind going in the other room to sit and eat while me and Carissa? So all of a sudden I said, all right, John. I says, no problem. So I go in there. Then 2 seconds later, he comes in. He goes, Jimmy, come back in here and eat with us. Well, what are you, like a dog? You're going to eat by yourself? Come back.
All right, so
He would just change his mind like in a second. He'd be like from not one nice guy to a schizophrenic nut the next.
Yeah.
My God.
all right, so eventually during your boxing, little, we'll say, adventures there, you ran into Don King, right?
Yes.
Now, Don King was not just a boxing promoter. In 1967, he was convicted of voluntary manslaughter for stomping one of his employees to death. It wasn't a 9-to-5 job. He ran
I
numbers.
think he did 15 years.
What did he do? He's 3 years and 11 months. That's it. He got off on that. He actually they bargained it down. Yeah, he did. For this, he served 3 years.
He said on interviews he did 15, so I didn't really know the accurate number,
No, I've heard it on HBO and on Showtime, but I actually have the record pulled up from Canton, Ohio, from Cleveland, Ohio. He served 3 years and 11 months out of a possible 15 years.
There you go.
He said on multiple occasions on TV where he was questioned about his prison term, you've said you served 11 years, 12 years, 11 years, and 11 years. So basically what I'm trying to get at, he wasn't exactly, how would you say it? He wasn't exactly not used to dealing with the gentleman.
Absolutely.
So when you met him, how was he in a meeting outside of boxing or about money?
Well, he would always he was funny because he would always still quote Shakespeare all the time. He was always trying to impress us as if he was much more elegant and articulate than what he actually was. Like one time I'd say, well, to get those two guys together, whatever he was talking about, to get that match, I said, there's going to be a lot of adversity, And he goes, well, what about what they say about adversity? I says, no, Don. He goes, adversity, he says, is the sweet uses of adversity, ugly and venomous like the toad, but yet wears a precious jewel in its head. Like he's quoting this from Shakespeare, but yet that meant something, though. Yeah, ugly and venomous like the toad, yet adversity can still wear a precious jewel in its head.
Well, I tell you what, I'll give you an idea. He wasn't a boxer. He never had to take a punch, and he made $247 million on his own.
Yeah, pretty smart.
That should tell you wonders about him and whatever he stole from other fighters.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he made it off the backs of the other kids too. Don't forget anything like he gave Tyson. He owned it. In other words, sure, you want a Lamborghini, sure, but it was under the company name that Don owned. He knew just what he was doing.
Well, to this day, his son is still heavy duty involved with the boxing, and his daughter was in charge of all of the fan clubs for every fighter at a salary of $175,000 per fighter. So if she had 11 fighters, she was on the books for over $1 million, almost $2 million a year.
But you never noticed there was never no conflict of interest, though.
No, because they were very smart, ahead of their time, and until '93, until Dinkins got involved, because David Dinkins' son was in charge of boxing with HBO. Then it became under scrutiny a lot. But in 1993, you had the congressional hearings where you had Certo involved. You had Damiani was one of the top fighters involved. They actually stopped heavyweight fights because of our favorite rat, that little weasel out in Arizona, Sammy Gravano. Did you ever even see Gravano around the boxing game? Because a lot of people think it was all made up stuff from him. No, but nothing ever happened at the hearings because of him.
When it was my time to service Jackie Curtis, I never saw little Sammy. I never saw him. So whether he was like a third in line to perhaps be the third guy that set up some portion of the meeting, I don't know. But I never saw him there when I was there. That's one thing I didn't. One thing what I did used to see him at was when is when I was instrumental in getting Frankie Valli formed for a show that it was a party that John Gotti wanted. And I was the one that got him, Frankie, because Sammy loved, little Sammy loved Frankie Valli. He loved to hear him sing and all that. He was always really into that stuff. And I was the one that put him in touch with, at the time, this was before Frank Scaraggi died. Frank Scaraggi was real close with Frankie at the time. And he was Johnny DiGilio's right in before, this was well after Johnny DiGilio had died.
Yeah.
But I had made the marriage for Frankie to talk to Sammy to arrange what fees were going to be paid for Frankie to come and do. And then Frankie did do the show for them. That particular night I wasn't there, but I'm the one that arranged it.
All right, I got a question for you from the chat, because he's always here. He's either early, late, or here for the whole show, but he's always makes an appearance. Gianni Catalano. I'm going to ask you a question. He asked, you lived in Frankie Valli's house. I know the story. Can you tell the guys in the chat who are asking a little bit about that and your closeness to Frankie Valli?
Oh, well, Frankie Valli grew up in Stephen Crane Village in Newark, New Jersey, off Franklin Avenue or 6th Street. And he grew up there, and so did my mother. He was friendly with my mom when he used to go on Ed Sullivan when he was in the group called the Four Lovers. He used to borrow my mother's pancake makeup, I remember at the time, before he would do the show. And he had broken his leg on a motorcycle accident. He was around 17 or so. He had this big motorcycle. And my father was very close with him also. He introduces my mom and dad. They get married. Now, then they did dealings too. Frankie one time got in trouble with my dad. And I'm not gonna put him down that much, but he did something he shouldn't have done. My father got more time. We'll put it that way. And the guy that was Nick Massey, you know, the guy that sings in the song Sherry, goes, "Why don't you come on?" His real last name is Machochi. In the police reports, it was in West Cornwall, New Jersey, in the 50s. You see my father's name, Nick Machochi, but you don't see Frankie's name. Anyway, long story short, when my father came home, when he went away, and I think when I was 2 years old, he went away, I think in 58, 59. He came home in 68, September of 68. Frankie came to see him, and Frankie made amends and this and that. And he said, Juice, I want you to live in my house. So he lived in Nutley on 83 Friedland Road, which was off of Freeman Place, which was right off of Center Street in Nutley. And we lived on the second floor. It was a 2-family house. His daughter Tony, his daughter Francine, and his stepdaughter Seal. Those were the 3 girls that were there. And I grew up with that. I was there for like 3 years. I lived in the house with them. And we got to be pretty close. But Frankie wanted to give my father a job as a bodyguard. But my father really didn't take kindly to that, because he figured, well, with all the closest that were out in the position you're in, you know, like you can't set me up in a lucrative position, you know, so it never was the same. The friendship kind of like dissolved. It never was the same. But back then, like I said, in the 60s, late 60s, yes, I lived upstairs from him, and my parents also. We lived upstairs from him.
All right, and weren't you very friendly with one of the daughters? Like she was a very close friend of yours?
Oh yeah, well, his daughter Tony, you know, Tony and I were very close. Francine was different. Francine was more or less to herself. When they were young, they wanted to start a group called the Mississippi Cupcakes. I never forgot that. They wanted to sing, so I would record them. On a reel-to-reel recorder. You know, we were young, we're just kids and all that stuff. But we always liked each other, but we never got a chance to go out. And around 1981, I was in Atlantic City. And because I was good card counter, and I'd be there endlessly all the time. I'd be there for free all the weekends. Everything was comp. And so I was there when Frankie was there, and I saw him several times during that meeting. As a matter of fact, at the Capriccio restaurant, because I had full comp. I remember I picked up the tab for his new fiance, and I saw Tony there after I didn't see her in a long time, and we got to be a little friendly, a little close. You know, gave her a kiss on the cheek or whatever, and she just gave me a little nod. She says it was always you. She says when we grew up together, she says who knows, it should have been you. So I took it as a compliment, you know. But we were close.
Excuse me. How about he's 93 years old and he's going to finish his career out in Vegas? Can you imagine that? He's still going.
Wow.
He's about the last of the guys. Him and your dad are about the last of the guys. And that
I know.
still alive.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't know. Well, he lip syncs now. He doesn't really sing no more.
Yeah, no, he does a lot of lip syncing. He has a different group. There's the Four Seasons Singers now. They're a bunch of young guys. They're more on the upper side of it, but it's amazing.
Yes, the background will play more, but it's all recorded already. It's just, don't forget he's an older guy now. But I mean, you can't take it away from him. He was a good performer, though. You know.
No, absolutely. So let me ask you a question, because a lot of people ask me, you know, you're around Jimmy, you talk to Jimmy, and I said, Jimmy's a great guy. How was it just growing up in Belleville, Newark area as a young man? You had all the power that you had with the guys. You had all the people that you were really close with as friends. I mean, it sounds like a great lifestyle for a young Italian guy.
I have nothing but fond memories. When I was a boy, I was 8 years old once, and I would always shine shoes. I would go to all the bars in Silver Lake. There was Stefanelli's near the railroad tracks, Binky's on Harrison Street, and I would always go with the wise guys. I always knew when Cabert had money. When Cabert had money, his shoelaces would be tied. Otherwise, he would just put his shoes on and never tie his shoelaces. That's how I know he was broke. But instead of giving me a quarter for a shine, he would always give me a $5 bill. And that was a big deal. Like one weekend, I made $22. I thought I was Rockefeller. And Buddy Mussagrasso, I used to call him Uncle Buddy. I started my own band as I was a kid. I was 8 years old, and he gave me all the stolen instruments from Newark Board of Education. But like there was a trombone, a guitar. I remember we had to get a file. We had to saw all the names off of where the instruments came from first. Buddy, Sonny Must were like brother. Now then I had my cousin Jamesy Saratella. Forget it. Jamesy was forget about it. He's a real bug. I mean, a bug, especially if he had a couple of drinks, forget about it. You got a problem with him. I mean, he'll just get started. Like he went to work on some guy one night. This was about maybe 10 years ago or so. We were at the Belmont having dinner, and it was a bookie that never paid his son on a bet. So they happened to see the guy in there, and they called him outside. And he says, so the kid says, well, where's the money? So James, he says, yeah, where's the money? Bang! When he hit this guy, it looked like a grenade went off in his face. And now he's pounding him more. And I'm trying to tell him, I said, the guy's yelling, I'm going to go get the money now. Just give me 5 minutes. I said, James, you got him. He says, no. He says, I'm just getting started with you. And then I try to pull him away. He's like looking at me like, what are you? He says, hey, Gouge. Gouge means cugine, which means cousin in Italian. He says, don't get involved. He says, I'm going to get this guy. If I didn't pull him off, James, he would have killed him. But James, he did a lot of work. So but you know what happened? Tony,
what's that?
He wound up having a truck accident because he was bad with alcohol, and he had an accident, and he's paralyzed now. He can't move from the neck down. It's awful. I got to go see him. I try to help him as much as I can, but he can only eat, talk, and just move his head. That's it. But James, he was a legend. Yeah.
All right. We have a gentleman from the area in the Crossing Inn and Pete's Pizzeria. Do you remember those two places?
Of course. The Crossing Inn was first. It was Stefanelli's Tavern. That's what it was in the 60s. when my father robbed the Brinks truck. They robbed the Brinks truck once. I forget where it was, but it was a dirt road where they followed the truck. They put a huge truck tire in the middle of the road where I knew that the truck would have to stop. And when it did, they merged from left to right with shotguns. He made the money. He's walking. When they heard it on the radio, the whole town in Silver Lake knew it was Juicy, and it was him and his friends. I think it was Cabert too. He stuffed all the money in his pants when he was walking over the tracks, over the railroad tracks where Stefanelli's Tavern was. He's walking like this, like he's 400 pounds. You know, the money. Everybody was laughing because they all knew it was him. But Peter's Pizzeria. That's where I did my scam with the telephone book where I had the guy pay me. There was Peter's Pizzeria there. I was there the first day the guy opened. I was 6 years old. I helped him clean out all the peppers and stuff when I was a kid.
Wow. So you got a lot of memories over there. All right, we got one more question about the neighborhood there. They went to work on a trooper at the Belleville pub. Do you remember that?
Yeah, my cousin Jamesy and Buddy Muss, yeah.
So Jamesy was your cousin, huh?
Yes, he's my cousin. Yes.
Wow.
His mother is my father's first cousin.
So you guys had a lot of little. You see, they don't have places like that in every neighborhood no more. Today, it's all franchises and shit. You're lucky if you got one of the old places around. Not many in any of the areas, and I think a lot of people miss that of being of Italian descent. We had our pizza shops. We had our Italian restaurants. We had the little bars that were ours. There were other bars that were Irish. There were other bars that were mixed. I mean, what do you miss most about your childhood in that area?
It was more or less the camaraderie. Everybody was close. Everybody. It was more of a warm atmosphere. Like I can go to anybody's house. Literally, a door would be open. I could knock on the door and I would say, Millie. That was the Musquios that were there. I'd say, my mom is busy with her mother's shop and I didn't eat tonight. Can I eat here? And I said, sure, Jimmy, come on and eat. It was more like everything again was more warm and more family orientated. It's not exactly. Like it's a mixed crowd now, and it's still you people that that are still have untrusting eyes. It's not really like, but that going back to that beating that they gave the state trooper to in the Belleville pub. The Belleville pub was owned by my cousin. He died now also. Jamie, little Jimmy Messina. He owned the place. And what happened was he was the mayor of Belleville at the time.
Wow.
Jimmy, I appreciate it. Fucking mayor.
Tommy is saying in the chat, Belleville was referenced as the family. The neighborhood itself.
The neighborhood itself was known as a family.
Sure. It sounds like compared to the New York neighborhoods, you guys were more homely. You know what I mean? Everybody got along more because it wasn't as big. But it seems like it was a great place to live, a fun place to grow up. And everybody knew each other and protected each other. And if you got out of line, you also knew you were going to get it.
Oh yeah, Silver Lake was fat. Then we had Joey Filco. When Joey Filco died, he died in a jewelry store stick up. The owner came up from the bottom that they didn't know about, and he came up shooting. And he wound up killing Joey. But Joey was a friend of mine. We had a couple of shootouts. We wanted to go rob this coke dealer one night, and this guy. We knew where he was, so I tried to tell him. I said, look, I'll get him in the van. I said, I'll get in the van with him. I said, and just follow us with this car. And when he followed us with the car, I'm talking to him. But what happened was 3 weeks prior to that, he said something to my other cousin. He was a greenhorn, my cousin John. He said something derogatory, and I remember I cracked him in the mouth, and I knocked his front teeth out. He was knocked out completely. He just closed his eyes and went, whoop. And just went right down. It was in the parking lot of a gas station on Bloomfield Avenue. So 3 weeks. So before that happened, after that happened, I meant to say I want to make amends, but we want to buy some stuff from you. So when he picked me up, he had somebody laying in the back seat of his van with a pink a pink blanket over him. So I knew it was there. So now, just in case if he was going to try to sneak me and shoot me, when the light turned red, I said, nah, forget about it. Change my mind. I jump out, and Joey was in the back with me in the car waiting for me. And he's looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, in other words, like, we're supposed to follow this guy and then take this guy off. I says, what happened was, I says, he had somebody in the back laying down with a blanket over him. He goes, oh, yeah? Well, now we're going to go to his house and kill everybody in his house. I says, okay. So I knew where he lived. We're driving down his street, and the guy happened to be following us behind it. With that, a chase ensues. He starts chasing us. Now it starts a snowstorm. We're on Franklin Avenue near Hendricks Golf Course, where Soho Hospital was up on a hill to the left. As we're driving, as the guy's van was going to the left side of the we were in a Toyota. Joey rolls the window down. We got the pistols. He starts blasting. Boom, boom, boom. The guy still didn't get that as a hint and stopped. So he kept following. So then Joey, what happens? I'm in the Toyota when we go to this other street off of Franklin Street in Belleville. He jumps out in Bluefield. He takes the guns with him. The guy still follows me in the car now. So I go to a Hess station where it's all lit up. I figure he ain't gonna come there. It came there anyway, and he starts blasting. Like I said, it ain't like in the movies when they shoot at you. You hit the ground. You try to scramble, but obviously I lived to tell the tale.
Here's what I find amazing. Today you look at somebody the wrong way, they dial 911. Back in the day, then you could do whatever you want. Everybody went on. If they were going to the fruit store, the grocery store, they seen you getting work done outside, no problem. They turned their head and kept walking. Today it's a cesspool of 911 calls. I mean, could you ever imagine living that life today?
No, there's no fucking men in the world. My language. There's no men left in the world. As soon as you crack a guy in the mouth, he wants to call 9 lawyers. Come on, man, grow up, be a man, take your beating like a man.
That's the whole thing. I mean, you got cameras everywhere. Everybody who moves in puts Ring cameras everywhere. You can't even sit in your backyard anymore in private. I mean, it's really gotten to a point where our whole life is on video camera, no matter what it is. You know, it's really disgusting. We were talking earlier, and I laughed about something you had told me earlier. Johnny Moose. Met him a few times. Very unique looking gentleman, I'll say it at that. But Johnny Moose also liked the nightlife and went along with the nightlife. What do you remember about that?
Oh, well, he broke the rules prior to him being made. He enjoyed his parties. But what happened was he couldn't control his parties. Like, so I would have to be with him. And I remember the guy, Steve, who was Anthony Graziano's partner, he said to him, he says, John, he says, this kid loves you. He's with you if you had 300 guys like him, you'd be president, he told him. But Johnny was, like I said, he would take things to the limit. You know, because of what he looked like. He said, now you listen to me now. I'm telling you, you do what I say. Like he was just like a maniac. We were in a gas station and a guy one time says, well, I'll be with you in a minute. He goes, you're just going to have to wait. He goes, wait. He goes, but you know what? He says, I'm Johnny Moose. I'll set you on fire with that gas tank. He told him, I'll pump that gas all over you. And he was ready. I said, John, what are we doing? If the guy's going to write down your plate, he's going to, call the law. But like I said, but with cameras, like you were saying nowadays, when I used to rob all the stores with my friend, oh God, nowadays there's so many more cameras. I don't know if he'd be able to be as crafty and get away with it like he could today. But I remember when I would talk to a store owner and give him time to get in the back room to find the money, he was a genius. But we were in Orlando, Florida, right where Disneyland was, where they sell all the souvenirs. So you go in this store, he was a real tall Hindu Indian, and he has he has black socks on, black dress socks with sandals. And he looks at me and he says, yes, boss. Yes, boss. So he looks at Johnny. Jimmy looks at me and he says, oh, this guy's ice cream. He goes, get him. He says, stay right with him. So now I'm talking to him. I says, yeah, let me have 2 of these. Let me have 4 of these. See, nothing's written in stone. You don't have to buy everything. But as long as you buy something, it decreases the guy's suspicion. He doesn't make the guy feel suspicious. Well, as long as you're buying stuff, you're not wasting his time. So what happens is my man goes in the back, right? He's trying to get in the back room. But now he comes out and he goes, I need a key. Is what he's trying to say. He made his hand move like that. So he's looking around the front. Meanwhile, I'm still talking to the guy. I said, yeah, give me 2 of those. Give me 2 of those Mickey Mouse shirts, this and that. So he's looking near the front, near the cash register for a key ring, which usually is for either a filing cabinet, maybe the drawer in a desk or whatever. And a lot of times a safe would be there. A lot of times it's open during working hours when they're working from it. Anyway, he comes out and he goes, he can't find it either. Now he's looking, as I'm still talking to the guy, his eyes open real big. He points. The keys were hanging on the guy's belt loop on a plastic little clip. They were hanging on his belt loop. This is a true story. So he says, he whispers to me, but only this guy couldn't hear it. I can't understand it. He's like a sixth sense that this guy had. He says, he points, he goes, get the thing on top. It was a cosmetic bag. I says, you know what? Let me have that cosmetic bag for my wife. The guy goes, okay. He gets a step ladder. I said, wait, let me hold your back so you don't fall. As I'm touching his back, my man, he takes the keys off his belt loop, goes in the back, takes a while. He comes out, he goes like this, which means he's got the money. And he goes, buy another one with his mouth. So I said, you know what? Give me one more for my sister-in-law too. So the guy don't care because they're $60 each. He goes up. I said, wait, he puts the keys back on his belt loop. And then he walks out. Then he leaves. He just says, oh no, let me bring my wife back. The guy goes, okay, boss, come back another time. Because he was happy with my sale. Walked out, $17,000 cash. The guy didn't even, how's he going to explain that? You know how many people must have got fired because of us all over the country? And the guy wouldn't even, how would he explain it to the cops? He had his keys on his belt loop again. This guy belongs he's a legend. He belongs, forget it. I worked with him 3 years. Again, these are my friends.
All right, so here's what we're going to do in a couple of weeks. We're going to be up in New Jersey. I spoke to Jimmy today, and we're going to look at some of the sites, and we're going to sit down all together and talk in person. So I'm looking forward to that. But now you're still up in North New Jersey, correct?
Yes.
All right. What is the biggest difference you see in 2024 compared to, we'll say, 1970?
Thank you.
It's the influx of different types, different people, different backgrounds. It's not the same. Like in our area in Belleville, Silver Lake, it was mostly all Italian. I remember there was two black kids that I grew up with in grammar school, and you know what their names were? Alonzo and Angelo. That's what their first names were. I swear. And the last name was Dobson. But I couldn't believe. But I grew up with them. They were friends. They went to school with us. But it was so rare to have a different minority in your school growing up. And the same thing in the neighborhood. The neighborhood has changed. It's mostly Hispanic now. It's different.
I have a question.
That's the main thing.
I got you. What a difference, though. All right, I have a question from Terry in the chat. Do you go down to St. Lucy's Church at all?
Oh, of course. They had the party there, the feast there. I think it was October or late September or whatever. My mother and father went there. My father's 92. They went there to hear my cousin's band, which is called Jersey Sound. play. They're very good. So as they're there, my mother and her girlfriend got up to go get some beverage. So when they left, they left the chairs open for splits, for a few minutes just to get something to drink. A guy and his girlfriend sat down in the chair. So my father said, just so you know, my wife just went up to get something to drink, but they'll be back, her and her girlfriend. Those are her seats. The guy says, well, she ain't sitting here now. Oh, wrong thing to say to Juicy. Soon as he came back, my mother went to go sit down. My father leans over, he goes, what'd I say? I told you, now get at, bang. He cracked this guy, 92, cracked him. The guy tumbled over and he ran out of St. Lucy's, ran out of there with his girl and never came back. How could he go to a cop and say he was in his 40s and say a 92-year-old guy beat him up? That's St. Lucy's, though. Yes, we go. It's down in Newark. Yes.
Tony, Jimmy, I think now would be a good time. You brought up a lot of your dad, Juicy. You mentioned Kabert's name earlier. We're going back in time. I think now would be a good time, if it's okay with you guys. We let the chat see some. I think maybe some photos and stuff that I put together in like a little slide reel. Be a good time to let everybody see some of this stuff.
Sure, my brother.
What do you think, Tom? Good?
Yeah, put it up.
All right.
Sounds good.
Do it. Yeah, just a little something.
Get the people.
Here we go.
It gives credibility. Yeah, that's me. That's me when I was 8 years old. I went to go visit my father in Rollaway State Prison. That's me when my son graduated grammar school and kindergarten. That's at the height of my power. That's my father on the left. That's Kabert on the right, 1958. There's me at the height of my power. My son's his communion. That's in Nutley, 19. Yeah, right. There's Dad when he was 61. That's when he was. That's when he got anointed by the Pope.
Got you. That's when he got. Just I thought it would be a good time to share that.
Another way of saying that is when you become a member, and we'll leave it at that. But the one picture of your dad, Craig, if you could put that one back up with the stripe on his leg.
Hold on a second. I'll go back to it.
I think it was the first picture you put up.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Put that up there, and I'll give you a little description of that and see what Jimmy's memories are on that particular day. Okay, this picture here was in Rollaway State Prison.
Right.
Lucy, who is Jimmy's dad, is wearing Rollaway prison, garb. They handed out, and that's Jimmy on a visit with his dad. Why don't you tell us how it was visiting your dad up at Rollaway?
Well, my mother always made me stay close to my dad. Every Sunday I would visit my dad. So which was very nice. And I love my dad. You can see he's a good-looking guy. He was so sharp. He was good with his hands. The first thing he did when he came home at 16 was he bought me a heavy bag and taught me how to use my hands. And I won. I beat up everybody in the neighborhood, even kids that were 16 when I was 13. That's a big difference of 3 years when a kid's 16 and you're only 13. But I know how to throw my hand from learning how my father. My father was so good, and he never had a problem in jail. Never.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, we know your dad was a tough guy. We know you were a tough guy. Did you ever have them intimate, loving moments that you could remember? And we're going to get more into them when we're in person. But give us one little tidbit of a special moment you remember.
Well, again, it's like when I saw him when I went to Otisville the first day I got there after I came out of solitary. I had to go in the hole because there was no room for me in the unit to occupy a unit. And my father was an EB. There's EA, EB, and so on and so forth. And when I went to see him, naturally it would have been a semi-emotional moment. But again, there's hundreds of guys in there, and you can't display that, But to see my dad, and we're hugging each other, I say, "Hi, Pop." He goes, "Hey, my son." And I always always kiss my father on the cheek, whether it's every morning, every night, we say good night. That's how it was, even since I was a kid. My father and I were always very close. I always wanted to make sure that I made him proud of me. Even all the years he was away, I wanted him to always be proud of me. That's why in football, even during the off season, I was a quarterback, but I would throw that ball. Even in winter, I would go to the golf course, hop the fence, because I knew that the greens and the golf courses were always kept real nice. I would go there with another kid with an end and go practice throwing. And I still have the record thrown for the longest pass thrown in the air, high school ball for a touchdown, which was 67 yards. I threw it on the 33, and the guy caught it 7 yards deep in the end zone. It was actually 74 yards, but they only counted from the goal line, which was 67 yards. But that's how long I threw the ball, and I was 16. And I remember when my dad's father died, they allowed him to come home from Atlanta prison, and he had to come with 2 escorted guards, 2 Southerners, 2 rebels. And I remember it was emotional because, I had a tear on my father's shoulder because I just said, Dad, I want you to be proud of me. And he says, I'm always proud of you. I'm just proud of you because you're my son. And that was very, it meant a lot to me when he said it that day.
Wow.
After the funeral for his father when he died.
Let me ask you one last question, and that's beautiful. And I want to save some of these for when we're in person with each other in a couple of weeks. When you meet the guys, you always usually the opening gestures, the kiss hello on the cheek, the hug. Did you feel it any different when you seen your dad? Because you might have did it earlier in the day, your mother's house or his house or your house, or was it just protocol out on the street to treat him like one of the guys?
No, there was never no run of the mill feeling like it always meant more because of what we've been through. My whole life I always had to be alone. I never had my father with me. And that's why I wanted to go to Otisville to be with him. And if I had to do it all over again, yes, I would do it all over again. I would go to jail again and be with him.
All right. So now your dad is still with you. Thank God. Knock on wood. I mean,
yes.
How is it when you see your dad today? Do you ever look at him and say, wow, we've been through fucking hell, back, good times, bad times? What did it go through your mind when you see him?
Well, I just want to, again, I always have that feeling of trying to have an accomplishment as something to do to make him relax in the twilight of his years, where he can finally have something to really enjoy, instead of just a hardship, and I feel like it's my responsibility to take care of him because he gave me life.
That's really special, man. I miss my father every day. I had such great moments with my father outside and privately that were completely opposite of the way we were outside and what we did in-house. And on that note, I'm going to end my segment. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. You brought back a lot of memories and a lot of remembrance of what good times really do mean. Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you something, Tone. I just want to add to that, Jimmy, what you're talking about greeting your dad, and besides the guys in the street, we kissed them hello, and that's how you greet each other. But like, God forbid, in my home growing up as boys, I said one of 4 boys. If you came home, when you came in the house, and my father was sitting in his chair or whatever he was doing, we made sure we kissed our father. I don't care at what age, as kids, as men, whatever. I don't care how many times a day you went out that door, you came back in. It might sound, to some people that, might not get it, but kiss hello, kiss goodnight, how are you, whatever. Kiss out in the street, it could be in the bar, but, whatever. It was always that way. And it was different. It was different. It was a genuine you know, a genuine love, father son. That's just the way it is. So definitely a relief there.
On that closing note, with the three of us experience, that's why there's us and that's why there's them. They'll never know what we feel.
Well,
And on that note, I love you both,
love you.
and thank
Love
you,
you.
I love you
and
very
thank you
much,
for having
man.
me on.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you,
I look
Jimmy.
forward to talking to you. You're
Yep.
you're
We'll
like
see
a
you
real
soon.
big brother. You're like a big brother
Yep.
presence on the phone, and I love it. And I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Jimmy. I love you, bud. We'll talk during the week.
Love you guys. Take care now.
All right,
All
brother.
right,
Be
be good,
well.
my brother.
All right.
Tone, another great job, another great chat. And then what makes it great is that it's just natural. It's a great conversation. The chat enjoys it, our community, and it's real. It's not nothing scripted. It's just genuine, and that's what makes it beautiful. You know, it's just an easy. It's not
And
an interview.
I tell you something. You don't have many guys left the old school that you could pick
No.
up a phone and talk to anymore. I
Yeah.
am very, very fortunate that there's a man in this chat, Tommy Real Deal.
A real
Every
deal.
time
Yeah.
I got a problem, I can pick up the phone and call
Yeah.
him and get off the phone and forget about it. Oh, fuck, it's 2 hours later. You know, and we both say we got things to do and we don't remember it. So I thank Tommy Real Deal. I thank Tommy Stiggs for being a
That's right,
buddy
Ben.
and always picking up the phone. I thank you for being like a brother. And that's about it for me tonight, man. I'm a little.
Yeah, that was
right
a
now.
beautiful show. You know how we got so many. I mean, tonight was a beautiful night. It was another great conversation. I thank you always being here, being my partner, sidekick, whatever, host, co-host, my friend. More importantly than anything, I thank everybody for coming. Great show tonight, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow night with our double header in boxing, and I'm sure we'll get some more Super Bowl talk in just before kickoff. I want to thank everybody. A lot of names to go through, so I'm sure everybody will understand. We thank you all. We love you all. You know we mean it. Thank you so much. Keep coming back. We're going to grow little by little and give you the right content, and only the content that we feel we're good at giving you. No BS. Keep it real, and that's what we do. All right? Be well. Love yous all. Hope to see whoever wants to enjoy boxing tomorrow night. Some boxing. With that, you know how we do it. Love you all. Be safe. Take care of your kids. Keep an eye on everybody.